Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for NewsNation Now. I'm Nick Smith. Tributes for Charlie Kirk pouring in from across the country, all the way to our nation's capital. A vigil for the conservative activist is set to begin at the Kennedy Center in about an hour from now. On your screen right now, the lines forming outside. Several members of the Trump administration are scheduled to speak, including White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard, and HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. NewsNation special coverage of that memorial will pick up in 30 minutes with Chief Washington anchor Leland Vittert as we watch the memorial live. Mourners remembering Kirk for his dedication to free speech, his family, and his faith. Kirk's organization, Turning Point USA, leaving a message for the late CEO in front of its Phoenix headquarters. Quote, "May Charlie be received into the merciful arms of Jesus, our loving Savior." Joining me now from Washington, D.C. is NewsNation's Hannah Brandt, where hundreds are expected to gather to remember the slain activist. Hannah, good afternoon.
Yeah, Nick, that's right. And we've got a team on the ground there who tell us that there are about 100 people already lining up for that event tonight. We're expecting a number of high-profile Republican leaders to be there as well, some of them planning to speak. Let's take a look at some of the people expected to attend there tonight. It includes members of the Trump administration and members of Congress as well. But what you're seeing on your screen right now is those people lining up. And here are some of those high-profile leaders I mentioned that are expected to attend. You've got Health Secretary RFK Jr., Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, to name a few from the Trump administration. Then on the congressional side, you've got Congressman Mike Johnson, Congressman Andy Biggs, and Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna. Of course, many in the conservative movement were very close friends of Charlie Kirk. In addition to what he did professionally for the Republican Party, they also knew him on a close level. And so his death really devastated a lot of leaders based here in Washington, D.C. And now those federal leaders are asking, what's next for the country and how do we turn down the temperature?
Tonight, we'll have a big, I hope, bipartisan prayer and reflection vigil in Capitol Hill at the Kennedy Center. There'll be a members' reflection and prayer moment that I'll lead on Monday night. This will continue. I think that the country needs to see leaders in Congress and leaders with platforms all around the country speaking truth and bringing calm to the situation.
But from President Trump, we're hearing sort of a mixed message. You can see he told NBC News last night in an interview, "I'd like to see the nation heal from this," but also adding, quote, "We're dealing with a radical left group of lunatics, and they don't play fair, and they never did." We've heard the president argue that this is the fault of left-wing extremists, and we've heard the White House promise to take action to crack down on what they see as that radical extremism, Nick.
Hannah Brandt live for us this afternoon from our nation's capital. Hannah, thank you so much. Right now, Utah Valley University getting ready to bring staff back to the campus in the wake of this tragedy. Classes are expected to resume on Wednesday, 1 week after a lone gunman shot and killed Kirk as he spoke with students. For more on this, let's go to NewsNation's senior national correspondent, Brian Enton, who is in Orem, Utah, at the amphitheater where Charlie was shot and killed. Brian, good afternoon. New information continues to be revealed about Kirk's untimely death, but do we know anything more about the accused shooter?
We do. There's a lot more information coming out today from the FBI and also from the governor of Utah. We have learned that the accused assassin, Tyler Robinson, is not cooperating with police. That is what the governor said this morning. He also said that Robinson's romantic partner is transitioning from male to female, but that the partner has been extremely cooperative. He said that the alleged assassin's family is conservative, but that the suspect was indoctrinated with leftist ideologies, and that he was also heavily involved in internet and gaming, and was on what he called some of the dark corners of the internet. Here at the campus, behind me, this is actually where the shooting happened. They've now opened things back up. We're able to get much, much closer. They're getting ready to reopen the campus for classes again this week. I want to bring in Caitlin McCracken. She's a student here. Thank you for speaking with me, Caitlin. And You were here when this happened. You were very close.
Yes, I was. There's no words to really describe it, I would say. It was a very traumatic thing and horrible thing that would happen, especially in Utah, such a family-centered state. Like, no one would ever expect it to happen here.
What happened afterwards, after you heard the shot? It seemed like everybody just went running.
Yeah. So I didn't really know what was going on. I honestly thought it was like a confetti popper. A guy tackled me, and then we ran through, there's like a water fountain. We ran through the water fountain, and then I ran to the neighborhood. And at the time I didn't realize it, but we walked through the wooden path that the rifle was, and through the same neighborhood the shooter was in. And he was like probably 100 feet above us. We just didn't realize it at the time.
I'm just curious what you think, Caitlin, as a young woman. You know, there's a prayer service tonight for Charlie Kirk in D.C. I mean, what do you make of what's happening in our country right now? I mean, you witnessed it. Everybody's so disturbed by it, but you were there.
Yes, I think if Charlie was here, he'd be proud of how many people are coming like closer or coming back to God, of like the prayer circles and everything. I think it's very therapeutic that we're all coming together as a community again.
Yeah. Well, thank you for talking to me, Caitlin. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry for everything that you had to witness.
Okay.
I've been so impressed, Nick, just being out here for the last several days at this university, just how compassionate and wonderful the students are here, and really in this entire part of Utah. And so many of them are traumatized, obviously, by what they went through here.
But
Nick?
a recurring theme, Brian, seems to be each of them talking about faith and the need to lean into it. Brian Enton, thank you so much. Arif Halaby is here now, a friend of Charlie Kirk's who's appeared on his show many times. And Arif, I don't even know where to begin, because I have to believe that you're still dealing with your own sense of grief. I have to believe that you are still trying to figure out how you comfort Erica and how you speak to those who were supporters of Charlie. So thank you for taking the time to join us today. Talk about some of your memories of Charlie, the person.
Yeah, I don't have a relationship really with Erica, as she's really has her own life. But Charlie and I think maybe 2 months ago, maybe a little less, we were together at dinner. And I think part of this that's really important is his objective was always to treat people with respect. The difference between respecting somebody and agreeing with them, I think that's what has been conflated on the left. When you start to hear the disagreements must mean that we should put down the other person, or we should, in fact, call them fascist or a threat to democracy. When you do that, you dehumanize a human being. And Charlie was much more than that. He thought, let's hear ideas, let's bridge the gap. His biggest fear was if President Trump lost, that the country would be put into chaos and maybe even civil war. And so he thought to lean into the idea of more conversations at the college level where kids could understand and hear a different point of view, since somewhere in the neighborhood of 90% of all professors, some even greater than that, have one political left-leaning ideas. And so there just really isn't any conservative talk. So his idea was to go out there, bridge the gap with conversation. And I was very proud to know him. And his smile is just incredible. He just always made you feel important. It's why a lot of us will come on and talk about being his friend. But, he certainly had a close group of friends that he and his wife now will lean on. But a lot of people felt like they were close to him.
Why was Charlie so important, not only to the Republican Party, Arif, but to young conservatives?
Well, take a look at Hollywood. Take a look at the ideas of getting out in front of entertainment. It's always leaning towards one side. And Charlie felt in the Republican Party, there was a lot of older people, a lot of the greatest generation from World War II, and there wasn't a lot of young representation. And if there was, they were generally pushed aside. Charlie said, I think we can make inroads. Instead of just giving up on the Black community or giving up on the young community, Turning Point USA leaned in and said, we're going to engage them. We're going to go out. And he said something pretty fascinating to me, and I didn't know this the last time we met. He said it was easier to turn a non-voting Republican. For example, in California, 38% voted for Donald Trump, and 95% of the political representation is on the left. So 38% of the folks have zero representation, really. And so he said it's easier to take those people that were voting Republican 4 times. All you got to do is contact them 4 times, 4 touches, and turn them into a voter. whereas to change a mind, it takes between 11 and 14 times to change a Democrat to a Republican in their point of view. They knew that statistics. He had followed along with this really detailed, almost analytic idea, and he's got an amazing team of young people at Turning Point USA there in Phoenix. Amazing, actually. Impressive to even somebody like myself who built our financial company on analytics. It was very impressive.
Arif, President Trump and others are blaming radicals on the left for much of the tension in politics today and the events leading to Charlie's assassination. At the same time, the prayer vigil taking place in D.C. in just under an hour is aimed at being a bipartisan event. How do we turn the temperature down right now in political discourse on both sides of the aisle?
Well, a great question. And I think you start to see the reaction. If you remember the misrepresentation of what occurred with somebody like George Floyd or Ferguson, Missouri, there was burning of towns and taking over Portland police stations and Minneapolis, fires everywhere. You don't see that. The response on the conservative side for Republicans is prayer vigils, it's prayer circles, it's a deep thought, it's spending time together and reflecting and learning and reaching out. So it's a different response. I don't know if there's a way to take, I mean, politically, it's correct to say, oh, everything's going to be okay, and everybody does it on every side, and both sides are the same. I think this is clear. The victims are on both sides of the political aisle. There's no question about that. But the perpetrators are not. So they only cite half of the statistics, where about 80 to 90% of the perpetrators are from the left. Even Gabby Gifford's attacker was one of her supporters that really kind of started this political attack. I think the best way to do it is to talk to those that are on the left that don't subscribe to this far left-wing progressive ideology, and just say, listen, a real Democrat believes free speech is imperative. A real Democrat believes smaller government and local choices is a real option. And I think that's going to be the only difference to make this happen.
Disagree without being disagreeable. Arif Halaby, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Nick. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. You're taking a live look right now at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., where Charlie Kirk's memorial will be held soon. Coming up, News Nation is on the ground in Northbrook, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago. What safety concerns do college campuses have? Mills Hayes will bring you the latest.